So this is kind of this next one is really the future is an incomplete equation. It's kind of the anti-worry truth. Because it turns out to worry, you have to think about the future as if it's already, as if you're correct, and you're not including something that's critically important in your mental life. And that one thing that's critically important that you preclude with worry is insight. You're not figuring insight into the formula. And when we first saw this, we thought, oh my goodness, that really sets us up for thinking about the future without insight is bogus. It just, who are we to presuppose? There could be 1,000 insights. There could be one insight. But you're kind of assuming that insights aren't really going to happen. And they happen all the time. And as such, best to have an accurate formula for how reality actually works. Reality is an insight proposition. It is. It really is. Like insights happen to people all the time. They happen to us all the time. But somehow we haven't really got, we got to talk to the other part of us that says, hey, you know insights are going to be happening all the time? No. Not all the time. Yeah, really, honestly, all the time. Like insights are just coming your way all the time. And in fact, the more you can appreciate their potential and how that works, you're going to even be engineering yourself for more insights. Get out of here. That's completely ridiculous. You got to wake up that the stupid part, of yourself that doesn't know how it works, and tell them to get back in class or get in touch with the reality. The outside-in blindnesses of ourselves are not in touch with reality. They're when we are out of touch with reality. And they happen to us every day. Every day. Sometimes for stretches of the day, we're outside in. Sometimes we're outside in for days on end. We don't have a clue. And then an insight will pop in and you're back in touch with reality. And it's just an interesting human experience. But you know what will happen? Now, I'm not trying to be religious by saying this, but I have found, and my wife has said, she said it first, but I listened to her and I thought, she's got a point there, and that the more, like here's how she puts it. She said, if as a girl, as a young adult, if someone would have said to her, would you like to have a deeper experience of God? She would have said, absolutely. What do you got? How do I do that? And she says, that's exactly what she's been experiencing, not by her own hand, not by anything she was accomplishing. It was by the removal of her not God thinking. So There's something about the nature of life, its insight richness, its change potential, its intelligence, how much it's helped you, what it brings to you, all the beauty, all the experiences, all the love, all the pain, all the suffering, that you get reminded of an intelligence beyond your intelligence, undeniably more and more and more. And it's so overwhelmingly evident that you can't help but say thank you. Thank you for this marvelous experience of life. Thank you for its richness, its depth, its dimension. Thank you for the experience of life. You know, you're not thinking for what you experience, but that you experience life, that you have the capacity to experience life and be moved by it, and have life be spiritualized. Life will become spiritualized. It has that kind of dimension that is quickened and made more real through your own senses and the way your own mind works. Your own mind is a spiritual gift. Your own thinking is a spiritual gift. Your own consciousness, a spiritual gift. So it has a truth-telling groundedness, a resonance, a completeness, a place where it really means something to you. Without your believing in it, it goes even beyond belief. It goes to a fact of your own experience. Because no one can doubt you're experiencing, and no one can doubt you can see that there's something about this gift of life that is profound. And it's not just profound when you look at the Grand Canyon or your kids or whatever. It's in that you can look at the Grand Canyon and that you can look at your kids. It's in the equipment you've already been the means for you to experience. Not just what you experience, but the means you have to experience. That's God too. That's God. There's a God nature to your experience, and you get reminded of that more and more. It registers, it matters to you, and you're brought into the kind of like the bosom of it all. You know, you're brought to the enveloping nature of it, to the truth of it. And you don't have to explain it, but you get to experience it because it's total. It's not something out there that you have to bring in. It's something that is within everything already. It's within you, it's within life, and you get a chance to more and more fully experience it. It takes away thoughts to the contrary. So it's your thoughts to the contrary that are the barriers to your resilience. And when you see more of how that works, you're more in the nature of the divine experience. And your experience is divine. So so Valda, my wife, got her wish, but not from the way she thought she would get it by someone telling her how to, but by dropping her confusions as to how it didn't work. She saw that God was present already and had always been here and was always part of everything, completely and totally, and so she got a chance to relax into the truth of that, and that really surprised her that it would come from that direction, because it always seemed that like you had to make it happen from out there. There was some trying to do, some thing to think, some beliefs to believe, or some, but by identifying the God-mind process, you might say, that you're always already a part of, you're made to be directly connected. There's a direct connection. And that's a really beautiful, you belong here. If you didn't belong here, you wouldn't be here. And that's something that's very meaningful to you. And removes a barrier. So, back to our anti-worry supposition. The future is an incomplete equation. I think this must be another way too that the people in Nepal really this must have resonated with them too, but we haven't gotten to the one that really struck them yet. Inside out, in thinking about the future, we know we do not have a complete equation. You don't know what you're going to think next. You don't even know what the next thing you're going to think right now. You don't know 5 seconds from now what you're going to be thinking. So you could get out of that anticipation and that prescription and that delusion and just accept the fact that you know you don't have a complete equation. We know we do not know what thinking will come to us in the moment. We spend less time imagining future scenarios. Because it's funny, you can be just a little bit ahead of yourself, just a little bit of, well, uh-oh, what about that? Ooh, what about that? Like you can live your life just one step ahead of the moment and not know that you're in an imagination, you're outside in. And you take that one step back and get back in the moment. All that anticipation and anxiety and trepidation, it just leaves you. This is not saying don't think about the future, but it is saying when we do think about the future, we know thinking in the moment will always be missing. I'm sorry, it should read insight in the moment will always be missing. Didn't notice that typo till right now. So it should say, it is saying when we do think about the future, we know insight in the moment will always be missing. Of course it will be missing. We don't have the future, we don't have the insight that we'll have tomorrow now. So an insight will always be, it'll always be missing in the formula for the future. So it does something to accept the truth of that. It does something to plop us down in the present moment and get out of this worry. Because worry is an anticipation for an expected negativity or disaster or whatever, and you live in that worry and you don't know that you're swimming upstream. It seems like you're dealing with reality, but you're dealing with a reality that doesn't include insight in the moment. Then that being reality, you are surprisingly unburdened. There's just a lot of things that's taken off your mind if you see the truth of that. It just makes you more here and less there. Outside in, we think we have a complete equation when we think about the future. Oh yeah, I know, da 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 da. So you have it's all set, you know what the deal is, you know the story, and you get cocksure about it. You get out of touch with reality about it, and you think you're in touch with reality. That's what's really shocking about the outside in. It looks like you're so with it, and you're so out of it. I thought I was so with it with my dad. If you'd asked me 35 years in running, oh yeah, he's a warrior, yada, yada, yada. And then when I gave up my false reality, broke through to the moment, spoke to him like a human being, I got a father I never imagined I ever had. Shocker. He was right there all along. I just had him clouded over with my own judgment. We imagine scenarios and create expectations and spend time thinking about them as if they are true. This detaches us from reality. We also try to talk others into believing them too. We get disappointed, afraid, and upset when our imagined scenarios do not come true. It creates the ultimate driver of angst and worry and fear. That's like Virginia asked me, well, didn't anybody see Wild Bill? You know, I told the story about Wild Bill. Like, did anyone see what he got going on? I said, yeah, you'd think, but it looked like he was an exceptional person. What a courageous, exceptional person. Didn't see it as, if you could look inside his head, there would be a lot not there. There'd be a lot of fear that didn't ever occur to him. He was not afraid. He wasn't afraid of death. He wasn't afraid of hate. He wasn't afraid of hate. Hate had was irrelevant to him. It didn't matter. So if you could, you know, it's funny, but when you think about leadership, you think about resilience, it's not what those people have on their mind that makes them effective. It's what they don't have on their mind. So it's made it interesting to study resilience and leadership, because if you ask people that are resilient and are leaders, you could go to the library and there'd be 1,000 books on leadership there. But I don't think any of them that I know of will tell you, they tell you what to do, what to think, how leaders think, but they don't tell you that the secret to leadership is what they don't think. Because there'd be nothing to write about. I mean, for one thing, like, You could say that in a sentence and then go home, you know? But it's what's not on your mind that makes life really spiritual, really interesting, really meaningful. Isn't that funny? The quieter your head, the more impactful your life. That's why kids they're running around. Because they're just not thinking about it, they're just drinking it in. And we were all like that. We were all kids once. And we were thinking less and enjoying it more. And you can do that again. If you once did it, you just have thought, like you might say the encroaching rigor mortis of adulthood is more, you get seduced into thinking you gotta be serious and think about things in order to be a responsible person, but you don't. You can be quiet again, and you can be healthy again, and you're a second away from that. You're only one thought away from clearing your head of the past or the future. That's as far away from it as you can get. Who's got the power? Resilience is not being bound by circumstances, previous thinking, or the past. The circumstances of what we think about does not have the power to dictate how we feel. And if you just look at it, you'll see that's absolutely true. Even though people contend that it does have the power, just watch them and look at them. Someone was telling me about their siblings, I can't remember who it was, that their siblings have a different childhood than they had. And they're like, wait a minute, you were there, you had the same experience I did, didn't you? Well, they didn't, because they were thinking different. They had separate realities. And so your siblings have they grew up in a different household. Now, it looked like they were right there in the bunk bed right next to you or whatever. And it looks like, but if you really get to know your siblings, you realize they have a separate reality. Nothing wrong with that. That's the way God made things to work. And isn't that interesting? So you can get a chance to see how it works, and it makes even your siblings interesting to you again. So you don't think, oh, here they go with that same old story and the same old complaints. You get a chance to see the diversity and the truth and take them in again with fresh eyes and reconnect. Don't you wonder how some people do it? You think about, you know anyone who has someone who's married to someone who's just, to you, they seem like they're so boring. If it's a male, they're really boring, or a female, they're really bitchy. You know? And you think, how did they put up with that? But if you could look inside the head of the other mate, you'd see they're not thinking, if they're getting a kick out of them, they're not thinking negatively, they're not thinking outside in about their partner. And they're thinking inside out, so they really have a chance to enjoy them and experience them fully, more and more fully, the more inside out they are. It's really interesting. The circumstances of what we think about, circumstances do not have the power to dictate how we feel. When we believe in the outside-in illusion, it appears as if the circumstances of what we are thinking about can dictate how we feel. It doesn't work that way. We can handle the truth inside out. When we know our feelings are coming from thought in the moment, when we've done what one of my wife and I were doing a talk, and she said, my wife said, pick a paradigm. And one of the marketers in the audience came up and said, that's the ticket, that's it right there. You guys ought to do the program. Pick a paradigm program. When we know our feelings are coming from thought in the moment, it eliminates other false possibilities. It narrows down to one moment in time, the present, where we consciously experience feeling is being created through thought. Did something happen? Oh, I guess it's still on. We experience no misunderstanding or separation between us and then the logic and wisdom of the inside-out paradigm, or the resilience paradigm. I'm calling those the same thing. We do not feel insecure. You can't be made to feel insecure inside out. You just, now if you, like, let's say I had a colleague of mine who was held up. She was in Mexico, and a person pointed a gun in her face and said, give me your money. And she calmly looked at him. I'm not recommending this, but she looks at him, she says, no, you can't have my money. I work for my money, and I'm not going to give it to you. And he shoves it up her nose, cocks the gun back. And he says, you give it to me or I'll blow your brains out. She said, no. And the guy uncocked the gun and ran. She doesn't even know if it was loaded or not. But she, you know, she just didn't feel insecure. Now, sometimes, like if you've had a flat tire and you're on a busy highway and you've got to get across 6 lanes of traffic to get to help, a little bit of hyper alertness and insecurity serves you. Like, you got to check it out. You know, I'm not saying just cavalierly walk out over 6 lanes and figure it's going to work out, because it might not. But when you get to the other side, the insecurity's over. We've made insecurity a national state of mind. It's the national state of mind. Insecurity is the United States state of mind. We experience no misunderstanding between us and the logic and wisdom of the inside-out paradigm. We do not feel insecure. Insecurity is probably the greatest mental illness on the planet. We can handle the truth. Because when you think insecure, it looks like something out there could make you feel a way you really want to feel, or something out there could make you feel a way you really don't want to feel. So it looks like your feelings are being created outside, and your thinking has no say in what you feel. That's insecurity. So you see why that would be insecure? It would make you automatically insecure, because you don't have anything to do with the way the way you feel. I was in the hospital. I had neck surgery, and this happened a year ago. And they had surgery. I was doing great after surgery, but then I guess everybody is because you're under so much of those, the drugs. So the drugs wear off, as they do, and I started having pretty severe pain. So I said to the nurse, I need more pain medication. It was a pain medication I was familiar with that I knew I could tolerate. So she says, well, we can give you more. So they give me a little bit more, not very much. And I said, you know, I'm having breakthrough pain here. I knew what breakthrough pain was, and I was having it. And I said, I need, and I knew I could take more of this particular pain medication than I was being given. And I said, so I'd like to get more. And she said, well, we can't give you more. It's under doctor's orders. And I said, okay. I said, well, call the doctors. She said, I'm not going to call the doctor. I said, really? You're not going to call the doctor? I said, well, I'm requesting you to call the doctor. I'm not going to call the doctor. The doctor's already written the prescription, and you're all set, and we don't need to bother the doctor with this. And I said, well, I want to bother the doctor with it because I'm having pain. And she said, no. And I said, so I thought, how long is it before my next dosage? Well, it's an hour and a half. I thought, oh, man. So I got through about a half an hour. So I said, this is just crazy. I said, so I asked her again. She said, no. So I said, I want to talk to your supervisor. So the supervisor comes in. And same story. So I said, I don't know what to do. I'm having really serious pain here. So, well, we can give you morphine. I said, I don't know. I don't know about morphine. I just want more of the Percocet. It was Percocet they had. And they said, we can't give it to you. So would you call the doctor? I said, no, we're not going to call the doctor. So I said, okay, give me the morphine. So they give me the morphine, and I immediately have a terrible reaction to the morphine. It's just, I start vomiting. This is probably all familiar to you guys. So now I had neck surgery. So now I'm vomiting relentlessly, putting enormous strain on my neck, and getting no pain relief. And I've thrown up what oral medications I had for the pain relief, so now I'm in much worse shape. And I'm laying there and I'm thinking, this nurse and this supervisor and this hospital and this, my pain, and I'm writhing in the bed, and I'm vomiting. It's a mess. So I noticed that the nausea was made worse just even by opening my eyes. So I tried to close my eyes. And all of a sudden the thought occurs to me, this is the most interesting thing. I thought, Keith, you're outside in here. I thought, I am. I'm totally outside in. Like, I'm thinking this nurse and the supervisor and the hospital and the this and the that and the pain. There was just a way, it was all, I didn't know any of that any of my experience in that moment had nothing to do with my thinking. It was all about them and all about what was up, and I didn't like any of it. So that really did something for me, and I was struck by it. It was like proper diagnosis, outside in. I didn't feel bad about it. I wasn't judging myself. I just hadn't noticed. That was what was really happening to me. So it impacted me so deeply, I fell asleep. Now, I hadn't slept at all. It was probably 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. and I dozed off for a little bit. It really calmed me down. And before I woke up, then I was laying there, and I thought, you know, as soon as you open your eyes, you're going to get nauseous. So I thought I'll just keep my eyes closed. So I'm laying there, and then I thought, nausea, it always started with hiccups, you know, and so I thought, and then lo and behold, this old hiccup remedy comes to me from a friend I had here in Waco who had multiple sclerosis, who's long since died. She told me, because she had hiccups frequently, and she taught me how to drink out of the opposite side of a glass. You know, probably know that old wives' trick, right? You fill up the glass and you drink like this, you know? You know that?
That's good, yeah.
It's supposed to cure hiccups. I don't know how it does. But I thought, but I had that memory of what she taught me 30 years before. Who would have thought that insight would have come to me? So I said to the nurse, my eyes closed, would you bring me a cup of water and fill it to the top? She said, okay. So I sit up in bed, I drink like this, I get some liquid fluid in me, which is really good, and I don't vomit. And so and the hiccups go away, because the hiccups always preceded the vomiting. So that got me through for the next hour and a half until the next shifts came on, and the nurse said, "Are you in pain?" She looks at me, and I'm tied up like the sheets are in a knot because I've been writhing in pain and moaning. She says, "We'll get some help for you right away." So she came in and took care of me. But all that is to say is that who would think that thought, you're outside in, would help me there then in that situation and that circumstance? And it really, really helped me. Outside in, we think something other than thought in the moment can make us feel a way we do or do not want to feel. We inevitably feel insecure. We cannot handle the truth. The truth was, I had had surgery, I was in pain, and I just got a dose of morphine. And we turned to wishful thinking. Boy, was I doing that. Like, this nurse, maybe she could die within 30 seconds would be very great for me. Sticking our heads in the sand like an ostrich, just make her go away, please. Or just repetitively thinking the same thing over and over. Like, I want to shut this hospital down, you know. I was outside in. So here's our Nepal one. There's no other place to be, inside out. There is one specific place in time we can experience thinking, creating, feeling. It is not in the past or the future. This only exists in the present moment. There is truth and insight in this precise moment. Once we experience the value of this insight, we will find ourselves in the present moment more often. It is as if we finally have a practical reason to be there. You've heard people say, be in the present moment, the power of now, all these ideas. And I thought, yeah, okay, I want to be in the present moment. How do you get in the present moment? I didn't know that when I saw how it didn't work, it would pop me into the present moment. When we are in the false outside-in misunderstanding, we get focused on and attached to something other than thought in the moment as the source of our feeling. We are preoccupied away from the present moment, and we seem to lose our freedom and our resilience. Seem to lose it. You can't lose it. You can only seem to lose it. You can't lose your resilience. You can't lose your resilience. No matter what. For the rest of your life, you can't lose your resilience. You can seem to lose it, but it's unlosable because it's not in the world, it's in the misunderstanding you have about the outside. You've made something outside that's not real. And that's not realness is why you can't lose it. Which is really amazing. So you're only one thought away from resilience. That's as far away from resilience as you can get, is one thought. And it's just understanding that it doesn't work outside in. There's no possibility. There's nothing that can take your resilience away. So this last one is an observation. And we were very specific when we created these. And again, my wife generated them because I didn't know, as I said earlier, I didn't know what logic she was following. And she would say, like we did a training for, she mentioned one time, there could be an innumerable implications, not applications. And again, why would we say, we're teaching how this works, we're teaching resilience through implications, not applications. And applications means you've got to do something. You've got to make it appear, make it work, try it. It's an ego endeavor. Resilience is not a result of your ego. So there's no application. It doesn't work that way. It's not, if it worked that way, we'd all be resilient a long time ago. So there's something inherently true about resilience that is undoable by human ego. So we named it Teaching Resilience Through Implications, Not Applications. And we put it on every page, as you can see. So this last one isn't, as we were thinking about it more specifically, we did this training for this one group, and someone in the audience, one of the leaders says, "Oh, I've got an implication," and they said, "Delight. Delight's an implication." So we thought. So I asked my wife later. I said, "What do you think about that implication, delight?" She says, "That's not an implication." She said, "That's a positive feeling, but it's not an implication of the logic of how thought and feeling work as a paradigm. This is a deep truth, and it's not specifically relegated to one type of positive feeling. It's all feeling, whether positive or negative, comes via thought." And I said, "Thank you." So we didn't make delight an implication, not application. And we've got a couple of other ones that we've thought through, but for right now, we've kept it to these 7. Maybe there'll be other ones that you guys think of. We're open for articulation. One we thought of would be unintentional ego, because it's not like people purposefully sabotage the paradigm. They just don't know what they're doing. But this last one is an observation, then. It's not specifically based on the logic of the paradigm, but it's an important observation, and one that we all want to keep in mind as we go out there in the real world and tackle family and patients and that kind of thing. Sometimes we see it, sometimes we don't. You all ready for that? You got to accept it. You can't be allowed to leave until you sign. And there's another thing we need to get you to sign is the understanding that sometimes you'll see it, sometimes you don't. So it gives you no leg up on being judgmental of yourself or judgmental of anyone else for their outside-in misunderstanding. We're all in the same boat. We all sometimes see it and sometimes don't. Inside out, we begin to catch sight of how deceptive the outside-in illusion really is. We see that we're sometimes fooled by it, and sometimes not. Everyone gets fooled by this deception. Everyone. In this way, we are all in the same boat. It is illogical to judge and criticize others because they lose sight of the inside out just like we do. In the light of this understanding, compassion and humility emerge naturally, without effort. We are capable of being honest about ourselves. We stop judging, and we start listening and communicating. Outside in, we are fooled by the deception of the outside in and truly forget to factor in thought in the moment as the source of feeling. It honestly seems as if what we are thinking about has the power to dictate how we are feeling. We do not purposely lose sight of the inside-out paradigm. Underline, this has been the greatest deception since the beginning of time. So we're all facing the regular episodic occurrence of outside-in thinking. And the more conscious we are of that, the more accepting of that, the more understanding we are of it. Like if you know, there's a manhole cover in the road in front of my house. I've been down there 1,000 times, and I know it's coming, and it's right in the lane, so I know my tire's going to hit it. But now that I know that it's there, and I'm cognizant of it, I don't get so reactive to it. I hit it, I go on. Before, I was like, oh, what was that? Like, I didn't like it. I wanted it to go away. I didn't accept it. I was in reaction to it. And at some point, I got over that it was there, and I didn't really, it lost its power to make me think about it. And I travel that road, and now I don't have the same experience often as I used to have. It's changed. So knowing how this works sets you up for a learning curve and getting over things that you've been typically experiencing and getting insights about them. They really help you. Because the moment we lose sight of the inside out, we lose the chance to be honest with ourselves. And that's a chance we don't want to lose. I can't think of any stone left unturned here. I just want to thank you all for welcoming me back to Waco. I know you didn't know you were doing that, many of you, but I say you did, and I say you did a bang-up job of it. And I'm very happy to be back in town after 21 years, and see some old and dear, wonderful friends, and make some new and dear, wonderful friends. So I thank you all very, 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 very much. I want to, so I want to thank each and every one of you. Thank you, 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 thank you. Thank you, 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 thank you. And I appreciate it.